Okay. Well, I'm finally happy with the foreground. It's not finished. It's the main form of it is finished. The general attitude of it is finished now. This is all very wet, right through here. So I'm not going to touch it yet. I want the paint to at least set a little bit. I don't want it to dry completely, but I want it to bring it closer to that before I touch it, because really, as far as I can tell at the moment, this is all it needs anything. Yeah, I need to have a little bit of color in these dark lines. But because I introduced a couple of what I consider to be interesting striation or cleavage or what have you in this foreground boulder, I think that this one a little bit of that similarities in here is warranted. Might only be a line or two. They don't need to be as strong as here, because obviously this rock's pushed away a little more. But I don't want to go wet in wet with that, because I won't end up with very hard edges. So I'm holding off for the moment. I like what I had here before was this, this rock was actually the same sort of brownish, and it just opposed everything too much. Yes, this rock does this, and that rock did that, but it's all contained within a very small area. I think we needed less of that. Yes, this did delineate that, but it was compressed, and as such, in comparison to the rest of the painting, it became weak. So I wanted to remove this attitude that was in this rock here. So what I'm going to do when I put lines in, it's most likely that I'll have a couple not paralleling these, but maybe some, I don't know, little divots or cracks or holes or something. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do there. I know that I have to do that. I just don't know exactly where I'm going to lay the lines. It's one of those jobs that yeah, I'm going to sit in my chair and look at it from a distance before I make any moves on it at all. So we're not going to worry about that. But I like the feeling of this being up close, stepping down to here, stepping down to there, stepping down to there. This is no longer very important. It's become quite dark, completely in the shade. I like that. All's good. What I need to jump into next is, now that I'm happy with this in its general form, right? I want to step into here. I want to bring this sky up a little bit. When I bring my hand all the way up here, I don't mean that I'm going to put these colors on top of the purple. I'm just pulling, just representing the idea of pulling up, right? With the colors. I have a bit of a divot here. That little bit of a divot is directly over the divot that is between these two islands. Yes, it's the bridge helps to solve that. This obtuse bump in the rock helps to solve that. But I still find this to be a little bit less interesting than it could be. I love this sky. It's actually quite multi-layered and quite ethereal looking, which I'm really happy with. I quite like it. But I think that I would like to take some of these colors, again, I mentioned this, and bring them up. Not a strong sweep, not a strong mass, just a few hints of these colors up into this direction a little bit. I don't want to do it back here. We already have this, this form coming up. So, the whole job of bringing this foreground mist a little bit higher into the sky might only consist of 10 strokes. 10 minor strokes. Certainly low value, certainly low chroma, but higher chroma than what's back here, okay? Or back here, rather. But again, they have to be so well placed, it's gonna be one of those jobs, again, that I take a long time to do. This is going to be my step 6. I always take forever to do it, because to me it's so important that you get it right at this point. I've invested all the time into the painting and all the thinking into the painting. I don't want to mess it up by simply, grabbing my knife and starting to do this kind of thing right now. It's foolish. It's important to do it very carefully. If it were a brush painting, you could get away with it more easily. But when you work with a knife, your successes can be very big and dramatic, but your mistakes can be massive. So we want to avoid that. So that's where we're at next. So very little to do in the rock. Most of the time, by far, we'll go into thinking, not painting. Very little to do in the sky. Again, by far, most of the time we'll go into thinking, not actual painting. After that, we're on to potato harvesting job here. I'm going to replace this rock. I'm going to take a magic wand. Actually, 2 magic wands. In this case, I'm going to need to use a brush as well a little bit. And I'm going to harvest that potato, and I'm going to disappear that potato, and I'm going to replace it with a rock. I'm probably going to carry a little bit of light back here as well. We'll see. That's something you play by ear moment to moment. I'm tempted also to bring some of these vaguer grays and connect them to the trees so we don't have this darkness there. But I don't know if that's the right thing to do. I think that you can work a painting and correct on a micro level so many things that as a whole it lends itself to weakness. I like in a painting visually to have a few head scratchers, you know, a few, why did he do that? Oh well, it seems to work. If a painting looks too safe, it loses its drama, loses its personality. So I like anomalies, now and then, here and there. So we're getting very close actually to the completion of the painting. I think it's more than likely that the next time you see it, it will be done. And I'm going to be happy about it. I'm very happy with the painting. I'll be very happy to have it finished because eventually, you know, from a viewer's point of view, that's one thing, but for the guy who actually makes the painting, it's like any job. You start to think, oh, I want this job to be over with now. But I'm still having fun because I know there is light at the end of the tunnel. I know the painting's almost finished. And I look forward to seeing it in its final iteration. And moving on to the next thing. Anyway, we won't talk about end times yet because I'm not done my job yet. See you soon. It's Friday. Have a good weekend.